So this week is Jo Koy, who is a good buddy. We see out, killing it out there in the stand-up world, selling out arenas and just really shaking it up. And sometimes what we do on the show is we take someone a little out of the SNL box and just, we want to expand a little bit as we move along. And Joe is a great guy everyone's touched in some way by SNL or the people on it. So he was a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah, he's become a superstar stand-up, and he talks about his journey to get the stand-up world to pay attention to him. A whole story around Netflix. That's you, Ted Sarandos, and his success. So it's a really interesting story. He's a very likable guy, lots of energy.
Yes. So. Yeah, has a big following and very light in his feet, very fun to talk to. And
great stand-up.
We think you will like this episode, so stick around.
Joe, do you remember when we first met?
Yep, and I cried.
That was very. I never forgot that. So Joe was opening for John Lovitz.
Hello,
John Lovitz
in San Francisco.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Joe was his opener, and unknown then, basically. And then when I met you, you got very emotional. I thought it was really sweet. I tried to understand it and take it in, but it was like, and then now I've watched you marching towards superstardom. So it's kind of cool. Could you cry?
Why are you crying?
I am right now. Why do you think I have these glasses on? I can't even look at them.
I was just talking about this the other day to my video guy, Josh, and I was just like, you meet people it's hard when fans walk up and just say hi to you. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for someone to just go, oh my God, I love your work. And
right.
Sometimes we don't understand that, because we're on the other side, right?
Yeah.
But to experience that with you, now I understand where my fans are coming from, because what you meant to me is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like when I was in love with Saturday Night Live and watching stand-up just every single day and watching you make me laugh and going to school and imitating you, the next day imitating whatever bit that I saw you do.
Church lady, George Bush.
Church lady, everything, Hans and Franz, everything that you did. But it was my escape from reality. And it was also like, I was going through such a depression with my family at that time. My mom and dad divorced, my brother dealing with, schizophrenia and going back and forth in the hospital. Like it was my escape to just enjoy laughter. And I needed people like you and Dennis Miller, and Spade and everybody. And I'm not just saying that to say that because you're here, David. It's like for real, and it meant a lot. And when I saw you, once again, like the childhood came back and the emotion came back that I didn't know I had inside me. So it came out. It was just like, here's my hero.
And also, and you're now on the other side of the fence, but when I would meet people like Martin Short, who I saw on SCTV when I was in college, and I'm thinking, he's awesome. He kind of looked like I could be his cousin, and I want to do what he's doing. So when you see someone who is doing what you want to do before you do it, you always kind of are tricked out whenever you meet them. There's like a hierarchy. And now you have people coming up to you that are getting emotional, and you don't understand, bro. And it's very sweet, and you have to just take it in, because as performers, we're always thinking, that wasn't so good, or I got to get better. Or, we're always have that self-deprecating side. But anyway, It was nice. But tell me about your divorce and the schizophrenia in your family as a no. But
this is such a great transition.
Wait, I want to say I get starstruck too, and Dana, we all do, and I think that's good that we're not so jaded, because whether it's in the comedy world, of course, the Steve Martins, the people you grew up with, Eddie Murphy, anyone from SNL, I would see. And even like bands that mean a lot. And the hardest part is when you do get the balls to say something, oh, thanks. And you're like, no, you don't get it. And that's when people say to me, I try to give them a second or something, because I try to want them to understand that I get it. But you don't know how to handle it on this end. When a McCartney, or I remember Jack Nicholson And people go, have you met him? And I go, well, I've met him, but it's not met him. It's like shook his hand in a group, like, hey, this. And then one time got to sit next to him. And then if you talk, you really ultimately, selfishly, you want them to know you now from something and then like it. And then, and if they light up a little bit, then that's the most fun. If they go, oh, I saw you, and you go, oh, and then it feels like a little more even than just like, oh, thanks. It's like, oh.
I think the key, and I've coached people about it, because they'll ask me, what do I do when I meet a celebrity? And I said, be very specific. Don't say I liked your work. You know, say, Joe, in your second special, when you did your mom in this part, that me and my friends share those rhythms. We do impressions of you, and we're bonding over your comedy. That's kind of the ultimate compliment, right? When people are moved by your specials and your comedy and just share it and want to talk about it.
I love that. I love that when I get it from someone that's like in the entertainment world as I am, and they say stuff like that. But I can care less if you know who I am or not. Like when I met David, that was the first thing I said to David. Like, I love you. Like, cause I mean it. It's like, I care less if you know my work. I don't care. Yeah. It's like, you're the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I watched all your stuff when you used to do Annie at the Improv. I watched all your stuff, one in Phoenix. Like that one moved me when you did the one in Phoenix. It's just like,
oh, right.
And it was just like I don't care. I don't need validation from anybody. I'm gonna tell you that what you meant to me is special, because there's things that motivate people, and there's things that inspire people, and if without those things in this world, that no one's going to be motivated to do anything. I
had the same thing, Joe, when I was guest hosting for Kimmel, and David was guest the second night, and I didn't plan this, but Quentin Tarantino, I'd ask for him. Well, who do you want? I go, well, Quentin Tarantino. So then when he came out and I'm the host and they're all applauding for him, I just instinctively said, I love you. Yeah. Because I know you from your work and you're speaking to me.
Right.
And I didn't know if I was too gushy or embarrassing, but to your point, I didn't care. This is just a visceral, emotional thing. So, yeah. Well,
I'll do one more and I'll stop. But
no, I want to hear.
I was in New York and we were just shopping, and then Chris Rock acknowledged me, had full-on conversation, and I know this is your guys' guy, but he was my hero too. Like, you know what I mean? Bring the Pain was such a big special in my life. And when he acknowledged me, I didn't go to him. He came to me and was like acknowledging my work and what I do. And I was just like, wow, I was floored. I was like, you're the king, man. Like, what's going on right now? So that was a special moment.
That does mean a lot, though. It makes it all in your head. You're like, fuck. So people do see this shit I do.
Yeah.
Because you sometimes just do it and you get nervous and you move to the next thing.
Yeah. And it's lonely. Stand-up is lonely. Like, they don't understand how many hotel rooms we've seen and how we got to have that. We need that instant gratification, like the applause break and the laughter. That means, oh, okay, you like that, and then for some reason in the industry we don't get like the same type of love or acknowledgement right away. It's weird. So when you get somebody like you or Chris saying, hey, I like your work, it means a lot to us.
Yeah, because it emotionally, with the people around you, handlers, agents, managers, whatever, you could do the craziest special and get booked on 2 arenas, just stuff happening to you in the last few years. And then it's like, oh, yeah. Well, now we got to work on the next thing. You go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm playing the Chase Center, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Can we toast? So can we just take a knee for a bit? Because the first time I got $1 million check or something in the 90s, it's like, all right, so that's that. I go, wait a minute. Can we just say a prayer?
Enjoy this?
Dana used to tell me when I would talk about like gigs or if money was coming in, and he was saying, when we go to the Improv or you do these shows, and sometimes they'll kick you $200 or, you grew up getting cash. Like I drive to a gig, I get $20 in Arizona. Then I got older, I got like 75 for a gig. And then you get cash, and sometimes you would do a whole week at a club and you get like $3,000 cash. But that meant so much. But now Dana was explaining, he goes, it's not as much fun when everything's a number on a monthly statement and just numbers are just moved around. You're like, does that mean anything? Like, I just want to have it in my hand. I don't really get it anymore. You don't get the feel
I
of
did comedians in
yeah,
cars.
you're right.
cold hard cash. Give me
Jerry Seinfeld understands this. When you do the car show with him, he hands me an envelope. I won't say the amount, with all cash. And I felt like that was the highest paid thing I'd had in 30 years. I put it in a box. I used it for months, tips and things.
Feels real, yeah.
Here it is. And he goes, close the envelope. They're looking. It was the film crew. don't let them see it. Come on. But anyway, Jo Koy's our guest today.
Let's tell Joe, because we know, obviously people know Jo Koy from all the stuff, but we do talk about SNL, we talk about comedy in general. But was there any time growing up, I don't know where exactly you were in the world, but do you remember seeing SNL and feeling like that was something that clicked with you?
Yeah, it was my life. It was everything. And from, especially when they switched the hands over, when it slowly went over to the young guys, when it went to David and that whole
So you were there. You were sort of in the Dennis Miller, Lovett. That's sort of when you started watching.
I go way back to Piscopo and Eddie
Murphy.
Shit.
Okay.
My dad was such a huge fan of SNL and SCTV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another show called Fridays. I don't know if you guys
remember that. We remember that. Yeah, totally.
And then of course, Kids in the Hall that came, that was
later. You saw it all. Yeah.
But it was just, I was so in love with the freedom that you guys have with your sketches. Like, I loved sitcoms, but I love what you guys were doing with sketches. Like I was just enjoying the God, how do I say it? But you would get away with a lot. Like now,
that's fun.
What we thought was risque back then is like G-rated now. It's nothing. But back then it was like, I can't believe they're doing this. Like,
right.
Could you picture yourself? Would you ever think that's something you'd want to do? Or when I watched SNL, sort of what you were saying about an escape earlier. I'm from a divorced family. I think we're all pretty beat up with childhoods and comedy in general. But I don't know if I realized it then, but maybe looking forward to Happy Days or sitcoms at night or this or watching SNL was an escape because it was fun, people having fun, and there was no problems.
Yes.
It was all happy.
Yes. Church lady, just or when you did Wayne's World, it was just like, what is this? You know what I mean? It was just like, I knew what public access was. And then you guys did a sketch on public access television. Right. And it was just like, this is crazy. Like, I was so in love with that idea. Like, it even made people think like, oh, well, then maybe I could do like a public access show. You know what I mean? And,
well, the emotional underpinning of that thing, because people have asked me and I've thought about it, is that the two guys in a town live with their parents, have an AMC Pacer, and they're like the happiest people in the town because they're ritualizing everything. So it's such a feel-good thing. I want to be Garth. I want to be the loyal best friend of the guy who's like Bugs Bunny. He's smarter than everyone in the town, Yeah. So
and you reflect really people watching it, because I'm like in a basement watching a show going, oh my God, that's like me and my stupid friend.
Yeah, exactly.
And so people watching go, that's cool. That's us.
That's so true. And literally those two characters were at they were in high school with me. I knew those two guys. And it's just, I also loved how the intro came on, where it was that public access.
Yeah.
I think it was Phil Hartman. You're watching public access.
You're watching.
Yeah.
It was so good. And then like Spade, like everything that you did, man, with Farley and of course Sandler. It was just like this chemistry that you guys had was like, it was like friends. It was just like it was like you were in on something, you know what I mean? And it was like this school. It was like you felt like you were a fly on the wall. Is that the name of this? That is.
I think it is.
Yep. We give away prizes for people to say fly on the wall.
If you work it in. Yeah, good job.
That's crazy. It is. It's so easy that I did that.
We're going to get you a Rolex and a Gucci bag. Yes, I did research
you
last night.
I appreciate that.
Because you earned it.
But no, I really felt like, I'm watching something cool here. The way you guys would laugh, break character every now and then, even though John didn't like it when people break character. John Lovitz would always say that. Yeah, sometimes they break character, and I don't get it.
I don't like it.
I don't
And I
like
don't
it.
get it.
It's not funny
It's
when they laugh
balderdash.
at themselves.
It's not good acting.
Where did John
Not
Lovitz
acting
come
at all.
from? Where did that
He's
rhythm-
like from 1930.
I know.
I'm trying to figure out, what is he laughing at?
He's always genuinely perplexed. What's so funny?
What's so funny?
You know why they didn't put the sketch on, don't you? Why? Because it's funny. They don't like it because it's too funny. It's a bit of
Funny.
Mae West almost, and sort of a 1940s type announcer voice.
It's so funny.
Where did he come from? Yeah, he's the greatest.
And I always thought that was an act. You know, he started doing stand up. When he started doing stand up at the Laugh Factory, I was like, oh, he's doing like this character that he really does on SNL. And then he called me. I didn't even know he got my number. He got Masada, and he called me and he goes, I'm going on tour and I want you to open for me. And I'm like, oh shit, he really talks like this.
Oh, wow. Did you do it?
Yeah. I
You're
went on
too
tour
funny.
for
That's a
year.
That's a problem. You're
I
too
remember
funny.
him talking about you. You know, he's opening for me, don't you?
Yeah,
Jo Koy. No. And I'm not even disagreeing. He goes, no, he's really funny. He's really going to be big, you know.
Oh,
That was
makes-
sweet.
That's awesome.
I thought
That's so
you were
sweet.
so strong that night, and John was still new to stand up. It was almost like he had to pull up the socks
It's
a little
hard
bit.
to follow a polished good act.
Yeah, because you were
Very hard.
already into your you were a kick-ass stand-up.
In the
This is like
pocket.
the early
Oh.
knots or something. I don't remember.
Nuts.
2005.
Can I give you my favorite John Lovitz story?
We would
Please.
love nothing more. He's a friend of the podcast. Go ahead.
Okay, you're gonna love this one.
Okay.
I'm opening for him in Hawaii.
He loves Hawaii.
That's the worst place.
I'm opening up for Hawaii, and he goes, "Let's go to the beach. I need a tan because he's got psoriasis, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he does.
I need to tan. Let's go to the beach. So we
Tanning.
go to the beach, and we're laying down, and this guy walks up to us, right? I don't know who he is. He's like an assistant or something. He goes, "Hey, John, KC from KC and the Sunshine Band is a huge fan of yours, but he's so scared to come up to you and talk to you, and he's performing on the island as well. Is there any way you can say hi to him?" And John's like, "Of course, I love KC and the Sunshine
Of course, who
Band."
doesn't? Right.
So we walk up. This is the best story, man. And here's KC. And he's like, "Hey, John, I really love you, man. I was just so nervous to say hi." And he goes, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of you. This is Jo Koy." You ready? This is the first thing he says to KC. He goes, "This is Jo Koy. He does a really good impersonation of me. Take it away, Joe." And I go, "What do you want me to say?" He goes, "Exactly. It's perfect."
That was it?
That was it.
We have to reboot. I mean, Lovitz, if Ted Sarandos is listening, maybe Joe, you could produce it, David. John Lovitz should just be in a cartoon as John Lovitz on
Yes.
Netflix, walking around doing exactly what you just said. Hello.
Oh, it was so funny. I go, "What do you want me to say?" He goes, "That's exactly what I want you to say." And I'm like, now I'm in a sketch with him.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Who's on first?
Told you.
Last time I
sounds
saw him,
just
he goes,
like me.
"David, I'm sorry about your attitude. I heard about it." It's so funny, but he says he always buys a new car, and he pulls up and he steps out of it and he goes, "How can I get you in this car?" He's trying to sell it to me.
You know, you little pixie. How are you? That's what he calls me. You little pixie. How you doing? Yeah.
Oh, he's
Jealous?
so funny, man.
God, he is funny as shit. In
And he's
real
got
life,
his
too.
little dog, Jerry Bruckheimer, his trusty
His dog is not cute. I hate to break it to everyone. I tell him every time.
Personality is adorable, but the underbite
I like every dog.
undercuts
and
him.
this,
Yeah. I love all dogs. So, Joel,
yeah, ask Joe a real question.
I want to
man.
ask, so your mom is your biggest fan and really wanted you to go into show business, or just got
No.
a sense? No?
Not at all.
No.
She wanted.
Fuck
she would-
Wikipedia.
No. So she wanted, like, Filipinos are, have a lot of talent in the family. I don't know how this happens, but there's always a lot of talent. There's always a singer. There's always something, a dancer.
Yeah.
And the parents love to showcase that talent. And it's just like whenever there's a party, it's like all the parents got their kids and they make them all perform. And they brag about it. It's like it goes on for years. Like I was really good at impersonating Michael Jackson, but like it was to the point where Michael Jackson wasn't even doing Michael Jackson anymore, but I was.
Yeah.
And she would make me impersonate Michael Jackson all throughout high school. And that she would brag about it. But the minute you get your diploma, it's like, okay, enough of the talent. Now you need to think about life.
I was about to say, where's the impression?
So a talent show for all your childhood, all the way through high school, and now that's over.
And that stops. After high school, now you have to go to college, think about your career. There's no such thing as becoming an entertainer. That there's no money to be made there, Joseph. And
wow.
That's a reality, I swear.
It's pretty true, though. It's I mean,
very true.
She's not wrong.
The odds are stacked against us. But what was your response to that? I'll show you, or what?
Yeah, I was in love with stand-up. I couldn't get enough of it. I loved I knew I was going to be a comedian.
When did you get up on stage? What age were you?
18. Right out of high school in Vegas.
Oh, no, Joe. No.
No, Joe said, what are you doing?
My mom would kick the bed and go, did you give your applications out today? Did you walk out with the applications?
Yeah.
I go, she goes, are you doing stand-up? You have to focus on something. I go, she used to go to Baskin Robbins. I go, I went and no one's hiring. Meanwhile, everyone's hiring. She goes, go again. I don't believe you went. Go, show me your filled application. I go, gosh.
You were like
So I had to
Napoleon
work
Dynamite?
in the day. Yeah,
what are you doing? Whatever I want. God.
Get out of here. This is my room.
Napoleon Dynamite. So 94, and you dreamed about it like as a little kid then, basically, like 9, 10, 11. You started to think about it.
I was in love with it at like 9, 10. And I saw Eddie Murphy at
He's
the Seattle
good.
Coliseum.
Yeah.
Oh, you were a Seattle guy?
1987 at the Seattle Coliseum. I bought the tickets with my mom's credit card, and I went to that show, and I saw
live Eddie Murphy.
And what did
Wow.
that do to your brain when you saw Eddie up there?
So I knew stand-up, usually the biggest would be a theater.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you see Carlin in a theater. You
Big
see
theater.
Robin in
Yeah.
a theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I am in an arena where the Supersonics play. And I remember sitting in the seat with my friend and looking up at the 300 section going, wait a minute, what? Like,
There's people up there
this
too.
isn't a rock concert. This is Eddie Murphy.
One guy with a mic.
One man. It was crazy. And I don't know if you went to Raw, but there's the beginning of Raw. He stands behind this red screen, right? It's a
I
silhouette
saw
of
it
him.
in New York. Yeah.
Oh, you went to Raw? You saw it?
Yeah.
You remember the beginning of that? It was
Yes.
all the highlights of what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns red and he's standing behind it. And
Yes.
like to explain that to kids now,
It's
like
unreal.
that's nothing. But in 1987, it was incredible. Like my mind blew up. Like I couldn't believe I just saw a reel like that with his body of work in front of me. And then now
he's right there.
And then he comes up. His confidence
in your city.
is not explainable.
Yeah.
At 19 or 20, he's a fully born superstar on Saturday Night Live. I was a much longer journey. And so in your case, you got on stage. Could you tell us about your first night? Your first night going up.
My first night going up was...
Do you remember it? Your first set.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly where the venue is. It's on Tropicana and Eastern in Vegas. And it was a talent show.
Yep.
I was 18. I had to grow. I remember it took me about 2 weeks to grow just a little bit of hair on my upper lip. And then I colored it in with my mom's little eyeliner thing and made it really dark. I swear, I looked like one of
was
the
it a
Marx
21
Brothers.
and up place, or could you get in at 18?
Yeah, it was a bar. It was
so you had to pass for 21?
Yeah.
And you got a fake
I looked like
mustache.
one of the Marx Brothers, man. It was just like this obviously painted mustache.
Mm-hmm.
I went up, I bombed. It was so funny because when I wrote the routine, I thought for sure in my head what I was visualizing, me on stage, and like the bar manager calling someone from Hollywood, like, I think we found the this kid's incredible. He's crushing right.
Holding the phone up.
Yeah, listen.
I'm
they can't
telling
stop-
you.
We don't have enough alcohol to serve the people. They blocked the bar. Listen.
He's getting an encore for his 3-minute set.
Yes, he's doing 6 minutes instead of 3. This kid's unbelievable.
So
God, 3
So
minutes
did
was
that
an
happen.
eternity.
It was literally everything that I wrote disappeared in my head. Right when I got on stage, I forgot everything I wrote. and then I didn't want to get off stage. I just kept bombing for 3 minutes. And the guy kept like, get off. I wouldn't get off.
Awful.
And then I did this stupid joke about a condom not fitting. You know, that's all I knew.
Because the size of the organ is too big or too small. If it doesn't fit.
It's too small.
Okay,
but, you know, it's the obvious, right?
Got it.
Sure.
And then now my tongue is sticking to the roof of my mouth. And my mouth is dry. And I say to the crowd, I go, your mouth ever gets so dry, your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. And the lady at the bar goes, put a condom on it. And crushes.
So the crowd is crushing.
She
absolutely destroys the joke I bombed on. And then I walk off stage, sit down next to the guy that did Lionel Richie. He did a Lionel Richie song, and he sounded just like Lionel Richie. And I'm sitting right next to him. He won that night, by the way. And then literally he looked at me and he goes, hey, don't be too down on yourself. He goes, I just want you to know you had really good stage presence. That's what he said to me. And then, and if he didn't say that to me, I probably would have quit comedy because it's so traumatic, honestly.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I had a similar situation. That's so true.
How was yours, Dave?
Well, just quickly, this is supposed to be about you, but whatever.
David likes to talk about himself.
I do. I'm going to go back 40 minutes before this story
I've only heard
starts.
this 11 times, so I'm good.
What it was I did it was at Chuckles in Tempe, which Dana might have played. They always have funny names.
Chuckles,
and,
yeah.
I like when they call Girls a Day comedians chuckle fuckers because it's the funniest term, and I never had any. But there were 0 chuckle fuckers there that night. Anyway, so I go on to do my 3. And I go to my 3 minutes. After 3 minutes. That's
3.
it.
You can end it right there. There were no chuckle fuckers that night. So I was bored.
I should have opened up and go, where my chuckle fuckers at?
Chuckle fuckers.
So I go and do 3 and I'm bombing. And then in between, like I did one about mustard and I go, I don't even know why I eat mustard anymore. And then I go, blah, blah, blah. And I do and so I get off completely bomb. And of course, some extra from the movie is like a, skinny tie manager. But it's like whoever you run into, a stage manager, but he just manages the bar. And I happen to walk over and stand next to him and he goes, that was tough. And I go, yeah, that's first time though. And he goes, yeah. And then he goes, he's like looking away and he goes, actually, the stuff you say between the jokes is funnier. And then he walks away.
What?
And I go, wait a second. And that's my whole style for the rest of my life.
Things between the jokes. That's a comedy album.
Because I would comment on what I just said to myself.
Yeah.
And then you get it. And then I thought, oh, it just made me think like, so there's something like you said. So there's something there.
Yeah. You should actually go back and give that guy some money.
He kept me going. Like you said, yours kept you going. Lionel Richie knockoff.
Yeah.
He kept you going. But that was nice. Anyone take a second.
But David, I hate to interrupt you, but that note right there on you is like, that's golden. I mean, stage presence, that's kind of like, okay, you look good on stage.
Generic.
Crap, but
yeah.
He saw you generic. It's not generic, Dana. It was actually very good.
I agree.
He
wasn't throwing that around everyone.
It's just stage presence. It's
he didn't say it to Lionel Richie for sure. No, but that note on you is that's a great note because that is you. That's your whole act. It's like I think every time you just say on your whatever's on your mind, David, is so funny, man. It's like spot on. It's always been you. So
but it made me think like, what is he talking about? And then the longer, like you get it now, and we all understand that that's even in movies. I was sort of I was in Coneheads, my first or second movie, and they had me just with Michael McKean, and I would just kind of repeat what he said or say something back under my breath, and he would keep talking. And I go, that is kind of it, because sometimes the joke you're going for that you think is the big one, and then you say something after, like a tagline is funnier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So whatever, that just made me think of it because your guy said something to you, and we were talking to Nick Kroll where he had his audition for SNL, and then a random stage manager said something, but it threw him. And that's just someone doesn't realize this is such a big moment in your life. And they're just saying something randomly, but you remember it. Look at this. Years later, we both remember it.
Nice. I like that.
Let's talk about how you got to get to these 5 superstar specials. And you have one out now, live from the LA Forum.
Yeah.
The Forum.
Which is what,
Well, we can't even talk about that. That's too huge.
15,000 seats or something? 12,000?
I did. You're not gonna believe this. I sold it out 4 times, and
I don't believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
That's
It's so crazy.
Did they pay you a lot of money?
Well, you know, I do all my promotion myself. So my promotion team, we go into these venues.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's where the money's at. You got to do it yourself, especially when it's at that level. You don't want to go in as a paid act. You lose money that way.
Really? I don't even understand this.
When you take in on all the risk, yeah, you're gonna make more when you do it that way.
I played the Forum, Dana, and what happened is it wasn't selling, and so we curtained it off, so it only held about 200. But if you have all the curtains up and everything, it's still, you can say it's the Forum.
I played the bar. I played the bar at the Forum. They put a little stage in the corner. It was about 45 people, but I four-walled the whole thing because it's the only way to
from
make
the
money.
Forum Club.
But Joe, you're okay. So where did you get this business acumen? Because they said, my research on you is that you couldn't get a Netflix special.
Yeah.
So you said, I'm going to produce one in Seattle. I'm going to take pretty much all my savings, put into it, produce it, I guess, at quality that you would know they would accept. And then you sold it to Netflix.
Yeah.
Very
it's
rare.
And I hate to interrupt you, Dave.
No, that's all I wanted to say. Do it.
But not only did they say no to me, they said no to me the whole year. This is the year that they were going to make original specials, right? They weren't going to license anymore. They were going to make and they made this huge announcement that they were going to do a special every week, and they were going after everybody, you know, but they didn't even approach me, and I was like, I didn't get it because I was killing on the road.
You were doing well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like, this hour is hot, like, and I kept inviting them to come watch the new hour. They never came, and then finally, like, they just said, we're gonna go ahead and pass, and I was like, what? And then they go, our calendar's full, and we already got everybody, but we'll look at you next year for the year after that. And I'm like, I need to get on now. I'm 45. Yeah. Like, I don't have 3 more years. No, I need to do this now. So
wow.
I was like, screw it, I'll shoot it myself, and we were going to do a small scale, but I'm like, if we do a small scale, then it's going to look like I shot it myself. I mean, if I want them to buy it from me, it's got to look like they paid for it. So we went big, and I did it in Seattle at the Moore Theater. And I put on every single hat, man, Dana. I did all my research. I scouted my directors. I did everything. And here's the best compliment I can give anybody. And it's to you, Dana.
Really?
Because
I'll take it.
I studied everyone's specials. Yours too, David. I studied everyone's special. The one you did at Phoenix was so amazing.
Oh, that old one. Yeah, the HBO one, yeah.
I love that one. And then so I would study because I was trying to figure out what my stage should look like. I wasn't looking at it for the content. I was looking at it like the set design, the light design, how they light up the audience, you know, where they place the cameras. And the one special that made my mouth drop was your special, Dana, because
which one?
It's the one in
Santa Rosa,
Santa Rosa,
incredible theater.
Well, one, you crushed it, but your sound was the best sound.
Wow!
Out of every single special that I've seen, and I think I watched 100 specials, and that's the one I told my director, I told my sound guy, and I told everybody. I go, can you please watch Dana's? Because I don't know what he did, but it doesn't sound like anyone else's special. I go, it sounds like I'm in the audience with him laughing. Like,
that is so interesting you bring that up, because now I'm remembering that I was disappointed in the sound when I heard the first cut. And I did, because I get possessed sometimes about things. So I actually did get in the room with them. And I said, I wanted I Love Lucy sound. Can I get I Love Lucy sound? Because you can hear the individual laughs. And so they worked with me. And I never had got direct feedback from anyone till now about the sound on that thing, because I don't watch it again. I'm too self-conscious. But I remember it was a thing, really frustrated, because in the old days, they'd have the one mic down there, and then it would create this, you know, like Cosby early comedy albums, just so crackling. And then they have
Yeah.
all these mics, and so they had to turn some of the mics up, but they did work on it. And so the fact that you've mentioned it now made my day this many years later, because I really, really worked on that.
Said that.
That's
Did you get it,
That's
Joe?
amazing.
Did you get the sound?
Did you copy it, or what did you do to get it?
What you just said is what I heard, and I didn't hear in any other special, because whenever I watch any other special, I would just hear audience laugh.
Just a roar.
But yours was so like, I was like, dude, I can hear everyone. Like I'm hearing everyone. It's so full in there. And I go, what did he do? And my sound, we ended up miking the entire audience all the way up to the roof. I bought so many microphones, and when you watch Live from Seattle, and it's so funny because people go, oh, did he add laughter? And I'm like, no, asshole, I added microphones.
You don't just hear the front
light
row.
up the balcony, and you don't hear that laugh. You're just getting the floor, or you're getting boom mics on the front of the stage and only getting the first 5 rows. I got every single seat in that special, and that's why it sounds like that. And it's from your special.
God, did you always have this drive? Because you're shrewd, you're clever, you're driven. I mean, at age 45, and that's when you kind of broke. I mean, you were, broke as a nationwide figure, world figure, really, because you were doing really, really well. But then that first special, Live in Seattle, just you went up like a rocket, and you went to Hawaii, and you were selling 20,000 or over. I mean, you just blew up.
I broke. Yeah, that was crazy. After that special, it was over. And
really? So that was it. So there was a change. Sorry, Joe. So that comes out. You sell it to Netflix.
Yeah.
And then it comes out. And how long does it take? It starts sinking in where you're like, the gigs are filling up, and you go, well, we might have to move to a bigger venue instead of a club, or you start selling out a club 3 nights, 4 nights, and you go, shit, I bet we could do 2,000 seats.
But can I hate to say this, Dana and David, don't get mad at me when I say this.
No, we love to hear success stories.
No, I might get mad.
Go ahead.
But before Live from Seattle, and this was my frustration with Netflix. I was breaking records at the Improvs. I was selling like 30 shows out in a row, 20 shows out in a row.
400 seaters, big improv.
Yeah. And I would literally have to stay in a city for 3 weeks.
I remember,
to satisfy your fan base.
Joe, I'm not mad. I'm so embarrassed.
I knew you were big. I just knew that
I would be like at the Irvine Improv, which is a huge one, and they go, Gabriel Iglesias is here for the last week. And I'm like, the last week? And there's acts like this, like Joe, and they were smoking out on the road, and you go, holy shit, So that's more discombobulating of why Netflix or any streamer doesn't just say, we got to get this guy, bottle it, and throw it on our place and take credit for him.
Yeah, that drove me crazy. I have a plaque on the wall at the Irvine Improv. It's like 100 sold out shows. I'm like,
it's unreal. That place is hard to fit. It's big.
Did you just get a small apartment down there, or did you commute?
The Jo Koy Improv.
You have to live. Any club you play, you have to rent an apartment. Because how did you sell out Seattle? How big was that theater? Was that easy to sell out for you?
The More. I just did the More, I think.
Yeah, I did the More, and for the taping, I just sold 2 shows out on the same day, just for the taping.
Yeah,
it did make sense to me that they weren't giving me the special, and then after the special aired, that's when we noticed that instead of selling out like shows out in like 2 months in advance, it was selling out the whole calendar year. It was gone. Like my whole calendar year was completely sold out. And then we were like, okay, wait a minute.
Amazing.
Wow.
We're like, wait a minute. So the whole calendar year, so let's add a show, and then we would add a theater, and then that would sell out. And then we go, all right, let's try Hawaii. Let's just do 2 shows in Hawaii. And that sold out in like a minute, like literally like 1 minute. And then we added a third minute. And then now the news is getting involved. Jo Koy is coming to Hawaii. And the computers are coming down and all this stuff. And then adding another. And it ended up being like 12 shows in a row. It was like 24,000 tickets. And I broke Mariah Carey's record. It was like the craziest thing.
They moved to the Big Island because it was the biggest island that could hold everybody.
Yeah. I was in a volcano. I performed inside of a volcano.
Thanks. I'm playing a dinghy off of Kauai. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you You just
And
started.
that's when we
going
knew that it
But
was
that's a
different.
big moment in your life that you can't ever get again. You go, holy shit, I'm selling out. I was doing improvs where I would do, and honestly, I'm not really as known as a stand-up because I do. I'm an international star in other areas, and just got to get that in there. No, but I do other stupid shit. So, but when I go do stand-up, I'd always do it as something between a movie or a TV show, and so I would go to the Irvine Improv.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What is it that? What is the other thing?
I don't know what
I
else
thought
I
you
do.
were just stand up.
No, I do other shit.
Movies. He was in. What was the one with
I do
Sandler?
parties.
Do Over on Netflix with Adam.
I did bench warmers. So
You're massive.
so when you're doing
He's
stuff
an international icon.
and you go to a club, and then you remember Joe, like, and Dana knows. This year is the first year I'm doing a theater tour because when your eye's not on the ball and you're not a stand-up 1,000% of the time, I'm just like, hey, I have these 2 weeks off. Is it too late to call like Irvine Improv I love, or can I go do wherever club? And they go, okay, and we figured out, and we fill them up, but it's not any records, but it's just we fill them up, and I go, great. And then after all this time, I go, is there any like a theater I can do? So I just do one show instead of more.
Yeah.
And then they go, yeah. And then I realize like Nikki Glazer and Theo Vaughn and Segura and Christ, all these people are filling up theaters, and Nate Bargatze, and I go, and I go, and you're doing even bigger ones, but I go, I got to get in that mix. Like, why am I still doing clubs? And they go, oh, well, if you want, we can do a whole theater. I go, yes. What? I spent 5 years too long. They go, but you got to focus, and you got to do like 40. You got to start with 40 in a row so they can set it up, and you book the gig, and you put a hold on the theater, all that shit. So I'm just like floored that you were way ahead of the game on that. You're like go bigger, 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 bigger.
Joe
Yeah.
Koy leaped to theaters at 45.
Printing
so
money,
what
this
age
guy.
did you leap to theaters, David? I never.
Just now, just in the
so
last year.
many. It seems like we had John Mulaney on our show, and he was very humble and in awe of the fact that he's doing, Madison Square Garden 4 nights in a row. And
Yeah.
how many are there of you that can do
that
1,
big?
2, 3 arenas like you did the Chase Center twice? There's Mulaney, there's Bill Burr, there's you.
Yeah, Bill
There's a
Burr
very
does,
select group of arena comics right now, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's crazy too that like where the arenas are as well, right? Like
Mhm.
right.
it's like where like I'm doing 2 now. I'm doing 2 San Francisco, 2 San Diego arenas, 2
Seattle.
Seattle. Yeah,
No.
well I did Seattle. I did the Climate Pledge where I saw Eddie Murphy at, and then now I'm doing Tacoma Dome, which is 40 minutes down the street, and that's 18,000 people. And
Wow.
and it's just in the same calendar year, and it's just like, and it's also the placement, like where like I'm in Chicago doing the United Center, I'm doing FTX Arena in Miami.
It's like I like you do another one for the people that don't want to drive 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So you go, what
it'd
do
be
this?
kind
What
of
do this?
fun. David, we'll just pitch
basketball.
this to Joe. It would be fun to hang out with you now. We could be your openers or whatever. And next time you're playing like some giant arena. No, I'm just kidding. No,
arenas are. But Joe,
I
arenas
would
aren't
love for
they
you to
tough?
come out, please.
What
that would be
you wouldn't
incredible.
have to. You wouldn't have to pay me. I would just wave and go. I'm almost 80. Good night. But what?
I wouldn't even put you on the flyer. If you walked out, that would be incredible. You too, David. I wouldn't put you on the flyer or tell anybody. If you walked out, it would be insane.
I would love to just get applause and leave.
Yeah.
That's all I
You know
want.
what? You love Irvine so much, David. I'm doing
Yeah.
2 Honda centers, like coming up right away, right?
Fucking Honda
end of
Center.
the- yeah.
That's Anaheim, yeah.
Anaheim. I'm doing 2
That's
Honda
very-
centers where the Ducks play.
Maybe I'll bop down.
I was watching before I knew we had you on the podcast. So I was watching your Hawaii one, 20 coming in hot,
Yes.
and I don't know. I mean,
Dana's reading it.
no.
Coming
I
in
wanted to say
hot?
I got them written here: 2017, 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of specials in a compressed period of time. But you're at a top. You're a high level, Joe, as a pure stand up.
Do you not want to flip your jokes around though? Like when I started, Joe, we would see like Denny Johnson. There's comics I thought were great. Dana knows all these guys. You could travel, and this is not a knock to them because it's just the way it is. You could do 10 years with your same hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would
And just
never
travel
do that.
different cities. And that's someone who's just getting lazy, honestly, and just saying, this works. I have a job. This is my job to do this hour. And they just
Yeah.
do it and they come back to that city 2 years later, but different people come. But nowadays, when you do a special, and then where are you on? I think I know where you fall in this of flipping an hour to a completely new hour. Do you repeat stuff they love, or how do you do it?
No, I don't. Once it's on Netflix, it's done. I'll never
You
do
throw
it
it in the
there.
fucking garbage. That's
and then
tough
you get
to
a
do,
whole
isn't it?
new hour. You got to go to
Whole new
clubs
hour.
to work the
No,
hour.
I work them in between the sets. So
Oh,
while
okay.
I'm on tour and I'm already I shot that special in March, I was already working on that before I shot it.
Okay.
So I had the hour in the bag, and I was already working on a new hour before I shot that hour, and now I have a new hour.
Well, let me ask you a question, which I'm fascinated by. Like the idea of confidence.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you're floating around. You could look back and go, maybe I was 88% confident. But now when you go out there, after these specials are out, you're kind of, I don't know what other word to use, like a superstar level or something, because you've got, your name is 100 feet high behind you, which I think is really
Like Eddie
cool.
Murphy, yeah.
And you're coming out and they love you so much. But I was watching your technique and your commitment, your theatricality, and you're sitting on the stool, you're doing a Vietnamese character. You're so in the pocket. Do you feel like you're the most confident on stage you've ever been, or can you get more confident than where you're at? Because
Dude, I want to cry right now.
oh, good.
That
Just that Dana's studying your special.
Oh my
I
God.
just enjoy it. And I called my son, who's a huge fan of yours, and I just saw it, and I don't watch a lot of stand-up, but I go, this guy is at the tippy top
Yeah.
of what a stand-up can be. I'm being sincere.
God.
I'm just being honest. I love you, man.
Oh, that was awesome, man. You don't know what that means to me right now. That was wow.
But it's kind of true, right? It's
yeah,
like,
I
you're
I
up
just,
there.
Thank you, man.
You're never at a point with these crowds because they're all there to see you. Like, first of all, it is like an Eddie Murphy thing. So you must freak out that you know what it's like to sit in that crowd and get excited. Someone's coming out you want to see, and everyone's there, and you come out, lights go down, they get all excited. That is fun. And was there any transition? Because when we went out with this Sandler tour, we played some bigger venues, and it is a little different as far as some of my jokes are very throwaway, and the bigger it gets, I started playing bigger, and I had to be careful of like, I don't want to change things too much because it's just, they sort of, they wouldn't listen as much if I went too long telling a story or too long.
No,
where
it's
they
hard
wanted,
to be in a big.
they're so
big
excited. They're like
place,
a
yeah.
music crowd, you know, they
Yeah.
want some fucking action.
Yeah, that would be difficult. Joe,
that
you
hard at
have a
all,
lot
or-
of dynamics, Joe. When you get them rolling, then I see you sit
Yeah.
down and you get
He's
very
got voices
intimate.
and he moves.
But then you're going to go explosive, and you know, it's just fun to watch. I'm just happy for it. It's fun to be confident on stage because then it just
Yeah.
that second voice gets out of your head and you're just in the flow.
Yeah, and I tell like other comics that I take on the road. That's the one note I say. It is so crazy you're saying all this stuff to me. One, the second voice, I always tell them, trust it.
Mhm.
Like, trust your gut. You know, just like what David said about the stuff you say in between. It's like
Yeah.
that's what you bring to the stage. And like, I don't care if I already have a set ready and we're about to shoot it. If it comes to me at that moment, I'm saying it. I don't care. And if it fails, it fails. And I'm going to stay confident. I'm going to stay in the pocket.
Yeah.
And I want to commit completely. And when I become my mom on stage, or if I become my son on stage, I become them on stage.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I always trust my gut. That's why I'm not scared to like drop the hour. I don't care. Like I really don't.
Well, it's worked
nothing-
enough, and you got a feel for it. You're like in a rhythm of like, because if something's not right or it's not working, it's not going to make the hour because you in your head are going to go, that's not strong enough. I got to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
I never want to be in that zone that I've seen certain comics. Because like you said, when I used to go and watch comics all the time at the clubs, and I would see a comic that would come back a year later and they're doing the same act, and that would always frustrate me because I'm like I would never do that. I'm like I would never ever do that. It's just
Yeah.
like I don't.
That
get
was just a thing back then because there was no specials really. And then,
yeah.
I mean, the first specials I remember were Raw. I remember I think young comedian specials with Rodney or something, or Jim Carrey, and I was like, holy fuck, Sam Kinison blew my mind, all that shit.
Kinison.
And Jim Carrey, obviously. And then you started to see, like, when I got my HBO special, maybe there was, I don't even think I knew back then it was a really big deal, but I knew it was a big deal, but there was probably like 4 or 5 a year, you know? So those resonated, like the early, like when we were on SNL, especially Dana, a little farther back, that's one of the only game in town where you get to go, oh, here's comedy. And when you get an HBO special, it's only the networks and HBO. And that's really almost it. Maybe MTV. Now there's 3,000. So it's very hard to make an impact. So if you can cut through as a stand-up where you are and still get to everybody and have these things mean a lot and just keep on a rotation, like new material, it's unreal.
I kind of am in awe of people who can write really great jokes. Like Dennis Miller, when he does his special, he's got to have, 200 really great one-liners,
Yeah.
And if you have a theatrical bent to you and you can extend a rhythm with your son or your mom, that's more like jazzy. And all of a sudden you got 10 minutes because you're following yourself down this thought about a character.
And they follow with you.
But that being said, it's really hard to get a great hour that works every year. That's just a lot of work. It is. And commitment.
Yeah, it is. I think the first 2 were easy with me with Netflix because I waited so long for a special that I already had the 2 hours ready right back to back.
Wow.
And now this one, after this one dropped, now I'm like, okay, I gotta dig deep in the bag right now for this one.
But do you stress out, or do you go, I want to wait and then maybe wait 2 years for the next one, or I don't know.
This is your fourth.
Yeah.
In 5 years.
How close were the first 2? First one comes out, it's a hit.
17.
So it changes things. So how fast do you go? I'm putting a number.
It was like, I think it's a year and a half.
And they call you and say, now we want to do one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they called me a year after, but I was ready right away because, I
you were like, here it is
right away. Yeah, I was like,
here's
I
a
have
zip
this
drive.
power, you guys. I'm just gonna do the stuff that didn't make the first one. So,
that's the stuff Jay Leno always said. These guys come on the Tonight Show and they got 7 minutes and they do it, and then they ask them to come back and they don't even have another 7. You got to go back to back. That's what you do. You never record your act because then people know your act.
Well, an hour is hard to come up with. I mean, when I did it first, Joe, I got to do one with Carson, and I was going over my set, and I had like an audition set I would do at the Improv, to get stuff. And then I think Brad Gray and Mark Gervitz, my managers, I go, I don't want to do this joke because I want to save that for my second one. And they go, you fucking don't save shit. You bomb, you're not coming back. Give everything you got. And then if you don't have anything, you bust your ass to get more. But don't save anything. And so I did every best joke I had the first time.
And then Carson retired. Gentleman joins us. He's out of Las Vegas and has made quite a splash on the comedy scene. Please welcome Jo Koy, everybody. I just wanted you to have that experience in case you never had it.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Oh, wait. I have a question about Easter Sunday, Joe. Just for the people at home, I've done movies, and some are very, very hard to get off the ground. Is it one of those that was easy, or is it people don't know how hard it is just to get a movie going? Was it harder or easier?
Okay, here it comes.
Okay.
Coming in Hot comes out, right?
Yep.
Okay.
My second special comes out.
Yep.
We get a call from Amblin.
Wow.
So I go into Amblin thinking that it's a general, right? It's a general meeting.
Spielberg's company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I go into Amblin. It's me and my manager. We think it's just a general meeting. Right when we walk in, someone goes, Steven can't stop talking about your special.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you. And I hug. And then next person, yo, Steven loves you. Next person, Steven can't stop talking about Steven this, Steven that, Steven that. Then I get to the meeting with Holly and Jeb, the 2 execs over there, and they're like, Steven loves your special. And then I swear I do this joke all the time, but I'm like, you mean Steven from accounting, right? Because there's no way it's Mr. Spielberg. You're talking about Steven from accounting. So it's a Filipino,
which is still good.
And they're like, no, it's Mr. Spielberg. He loves you and he wants to do a movie with you. Do you have an idea? And I pitched Easter Sunday, which was something that was already with another producer, a great producer named Dan Lin. It was in the works, but we just didn't have anything attached to it. So I pitched that in the room, and they bought it in the room.
Wow.
And literally, like then the pandemic hit, so everything shut down. So I thought, there goes my dream that I've been waiting for. And they called me and like, hey, don't worry, it's gonna open back up, and we're still making this movie. And the minute Vancouver opened up, we were already filming. We hit the ground. We were already shooting. And it was all because of Steven.
Wow.
Yeah, he does cut through butter a little bit more than most people. It's harder to get.
And he only made 2 movies. It was Jurassic World and Easter Sunday, and he released them at the same time in the summer.
He released against himself? So you're...
It was just such a compliment. Nothing better than going to see Jurassic World with my son, and my trailer is running before it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It was all because of Steven. He's incredible.
What a thrill.
Yes.
Any more questions, David?
No, that's it. Joe was great. Joe, thank you, buddy.
Joe
That's it, David?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Joe will be playing the state of Arizona December 2nd. There's a stage 40 miles south of Prescott, ladies and gentlemen. He's playing the Grand Canyon. He plays Canada one night only. He's in Saskatchewan on a vertical chopper's going to hang him up. Anyway, Joe, congratulations on all your success. And you're inspiring. Your focus and love of stand-up and the level you've gotten at is very, very cool.
Well, we're not going to end it on that note.
No, we're not. What about Chelsea Handler? What about Chelsea?
We're going to end it on this note.
Okay.
What's your note?
We're going to end it on this note.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana, and thank you, David, for what you guys do on stage. Because if it wasn't for you two, there would not be any of these comics that you see now. Not just me, all of them. You guys did it before anybody else, before TikTok, before Instagram. You guys were the dogs that paved the way for us, and you were the best of the best, man. Like, you inspired me. You made a little kid that was going through a lot when he was a child smile. And
I remember I heard when you were 7 years old. 7 years old, he was only selling out 400 seaters. That's so sad. That's so sad to hear.
That was a sad time. I don't even like talking about those times.
Only little tiny theaters. Joe, we appreciate it, buddy, and I'll see you out there, and I might see you at the Honda Center.
I love you. And Dana, please.
We're going to show up at one of your gigs and just say hello backstage right before you are about to go on and go on a long story about you on our podcast. No, but we'll see you around campus, but nice to see you again. And I teared up a little bit. You teared up a little bit. David, did you break water?
I stayed normal.
You stayed normal. Okay.
I'm known for being
David,
tough.
Say you teared up.
I teared up a little bit when
Yeah.
I realized I'm still playing clubs.
His nickname is Teardrop. He doesn't tell you that very often. Okay, Teardrop, nice to see you.
Bye,
Jo
Joey.
Koy.
Love you guys.
Peace out.
That was so cool.
This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcast.
No joke, folks. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13, executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.